Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in, right? All right. Sorry for the tardiness, everyone. And on this video, we will be reviewing and speaking about Dr. Green Gorilla, Dr. Thunder, BGS, speaking to Miss May, speaking about the current environment, the economic environment, and the fact that, the struggle is real. Let's first thank the academics for coming in here. Dr. Thunder, Green Gorilla. We are forever in y'all debt, right? You legitimize what many of us have experienced, have been speaking about. Um, the fact that so much of our society was attempting to ignore what we were saying, relegating us to, the category of misogynists and sexists and, homophobe, transphobes, um, and just pretty much doing their best attempt at attempting to sideline us and marginalize us, right? And the attempts of ignoring what we're saying because the marriage rate is going to the crapper, not for black men and birth rate is not just for the black community, for the entirety. Um, not it's not just that the entire society is becoming increasingly atomized. Not once again, not just for the black community, and so our society was attempting their hardest to ignore men in general, but specifically black men who wants to hear from black men. And our academics have come in, Dr. T, Dr. Ron O'Neill, Dr. Dunbar, Green Gorilla, um, Dr. Thunder, et cetera, et cetera. Even some of our brothers with master's degrees. Shout out to Better You. Shout out to all of the others. Um, you know, a bunch of our brothers who have been in the military, who are currently serving as police officers. Thank you very much. Rodney, who's a nurse. Like, we have people across the board in respected fields, who are speaking on this, right? And that's Black Manosphere. That's Black Manosphere adjacent, right? You got people like Media Man who just dropped so much data you can't ignore it, right? Once again, like BGS does. You have legit physicians like Sarge Willie Pete, who, some of his older stuff may be less air quotes structured, but still, you're right, you can't ignore the fact that Sarge Willie Pete has something to say, right? The South got something to say. Right? So exactly. So on that note, um continuing, what we see here, and this is why I called it Philosopher Blues, is the struggle of knowing what you're talking about, speaking to people who think they know what they're talking about, and actually think they may know better than you, right? For some in the chat of Dr. Green Gorilla's live yesterday, and definitely for the young lady May. Now let's speak about this real quick. May is the prime example of, but you're a black man, so could you really know what you're talking about? Do you really know what you're talking about? I mean, you are a black man after all, right? So you have literal PhDs, right? In Dr. Thunder and in Dr. Green Gorilla. You have a man who's old enough to be your father who's been researching these type of things for literal 2 and 3 decades. And you look at all of those three men, including all the other ones like Sauchi and everyone else who was on the panel, who are tax professionals, et cetera, and you pretty much walk in as the lone black woman and pretty much tell them they don't know what they're talking about, right? Shout out to the brother Keep It 100. Marcus said it exactly. Like, you not, and notice something, exactly what Marcus said. You not going over there and regulating the women. You're not saying anything to them. When Marcus asks you, are you having these conversations with women? You act like you don't understand what he's saying. Then you finally come up with some half-baked answer where you essentially equivocate and say, well, we don't really have these type of conversations, and da-da-da. And exactly. So you claim to just be here to want to learn and converse, and what you're really doing is trying to regulate black men. Another person, shout out to FD Signifier, one, trying to tone police, trying to tone police. Two, trying to do the whole, well, if you're an alpha man, then you really wouldn't be talking about them anyway. You should just ignore them. Translation: ignore the significant amount, I'm not going to say half, maybe not all, but the significant amount of wayward black women who are helping to destroy the black community, or if not being in its way, definitely being in black men's way. Ignore that, right? And just alpha your way through. Why didn't you just come into the panel and just say, just alpha your way through it? It would have took you all of 5 seconds. You could have jumped on the panel, say alpha your way through it, and then jump off the panel. You didn't have to come in to pontificate and bloviate and try to misdirect and redirect the conversation. There was no need. All you did was prove everybody else's point. You definitely proved Marcus's point. Shout out to Keep It 100. You definitely proved his point, and you did it in no time. You spent your entire time on the panel proving his point. Exactly. You're just here to disrupt the peace. Right? You're just here to disrupt the peace. Right? Now let me get into my lefty bag. Yeah. I don't know if y'all understand what BGS and Dr. Thunder, excuse me. Well, some Dr. Thunder, even though Dr. Thunder's literally moderate, right in the middle. But Dr. Thunder and excuse me, not Dr. Green Gorilla, there we go. And BGS were saying, like, this is not a just alpha your way through type of problem. This is systemic. For the longest, we acted like it was just a black man problem, and then it started biting white dudes in the ass, and now our society wants to pay attention. Right? We've reworked, rejiggered this entire society, not really, but definitely culturally, somewhat economically, definitely educationally, to work for essentially white women and their sentiments about just about everything. White women are now the gatekeepers. And what that means for men in general, that includes even your white boys and men, is that they get pushed to the margins. Unless, of course, they were born to elite families. Shout out to Tucker Carlson. Right? But the sensibilities of white women are at the foundation of this society currently. So, guess what that means for white boys and Latino boys and black boys? Right? Now, what you have is a whole lot of people, because, we were raised, many of us, Xers, younger Xers and millennials in Gen Z, post introduction of neoliberalism. So all of our answers, we think we're going to find it in the market. Decades of not finding the answer in the market means that we're going to find it in the market. Okay, yeah, that's it. LLC talk. You mean during the era of entrepreneurship being at a 40-year low? You think I didn't say that just for black people. Let me say that again, because black people need to hear that white people are suffering also for them to actually get it. Because if you tell them it's not a individual problem thing, it's not a black thing, they need to hear that non-black people are going through it also. Yeah, entrepreneurship in America, at least pre-COVID-19, was at a 40-year low. And we've been doing to black people, at least for the past, well, actually, pretty much since the day after slavery, is saying the reason you're on the bottom is because you're not industrious enough. You don't want to be entrepreneurs. You don't want to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You want to rely on white men and white society and, try to be a colony within a nation talk when Nixon told you that's not going to happen. He told you that in the 70s. It's not a thing. Give it up. Right? And now we find out entrepreneurship hit the crapper since the 80s. Uh-oh. What did you think was going to happen when you gave the corporations and the elite more and more power and more wealth? Oh, you thought they were going to leave the gates open so that you could climb from the bottom to the top and compete with them? Yeah, that's it. So you and your sons, you and your daughters could compete with them in 10, 15, 20, 25 years. It's astounding hearing black people sound like this. Right? Only 50 years out of Jim Crow, and black people sounded like they're temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Like them and Jeff Bezos share the same neighborhood. Like them and Bill Gates, they know Bill Gates on a one-to-one basis. They know Mark Zuckerberg on a one-to-one basis, right? They know Elon Musk on a one-to-one basis. That's how black people are speaking. Only 50 years out of Jim Crow, and being among some of the poorest people in America. There's so much research that show how delusional black people, black women, black people are when it comes to money. And when they poll white people have a way more realistic understanding of upward mobility than black people are. Excuse me, even though black people are on the bottom. I think I am. I think I am. I think I am. Absolutely fascinating. More and more studies show, like, you ask black people, how do you think about upward mobility? Do you think that you could climb out? First of all, black people think they're middle class when they be like working poor, just because they got a couple of nice things. And why all of this matters, why is Mr. Z bringing this up in this conversation? Because that's the mindset that makes you think that you could jump on Green Gorilla's panel. Let me say that again. Dr. Green Gorilla's panel and offer some half-baked pushback. Not even a well-thought-out one. Some canned one-liners that fell out of somebody off of Fox News mouth. All this entrepreneurial talk, marketing talk. And no, Mr. Z is not anti-entrepreneur. You know you got to always say that, right? Dating market, marriage market, housing market, 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 market. Right? Marketplace of ideas, etc., etc. Then COVID-19 happens, and one of your most famous billionaires, Mark Cuban, says, yeah, we don't got no answers. Us over here in the private sector, us billionaires, don't got no answers. The government got to step in. You mean the same type of billionaires that told you the marketplace is where everything goes? That's where you find the answers for everything? The same billionaires that were telling you that for decades, when ish hits the fan, after they suck the government dry, tell you, actually, now that we're in an emergency situation, yeah, we don't got no answers. You mean you told us you always had the answers? Why is Mr. Z tying this to whatever? That's how you get made. Lacking any critical thought and just throwing out some rando answers that sound good on paper. Look good on paper, sorry. Right? Right? So I don't know if y'all caught when she got a little caught up. I can't remember who called it. And she's like, yeah, my dad was a patriarch. And someone asked, is your husband? And she started, and no, actually, she got quiet for a second. And they say, yeah, yes, that's a no. That's a no. If we're asking if your husband is a patriarch and it's a second to answer, that's a no. See, you answered, yeah, my dad was a patriarch. When we ask you if your husband is, that's a no. Should have just said no, because it's a no. Right? It's not the majority of Black America class and comparing Black to Asians as if that's a solution to anything, right? Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Am I borging? Okay, maybe I think I should be getting out of the borging area now. Hopefully, you guys can hear me now. Let me get a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me now. My apologies, right? But I can repeat that. So, what's interesting and frightening actually is hearing Black people compare other Black people to groups of people y'all know coming in the country with some money. You comparing Black people to Asians, to South Asians, you know, like Kamala Harris, them family. Oops. You mean the one that granddad was one of the people that helped to free India from British rule? You comparing us to those people. Who suffered? I know. You compare us to those people, and then deeming us lacking. Right? People who are not situated in the same position, right? And once again, shout out to all of us that notice. It's really the Indians that's holding up that number for real, for real. Whenever y'all throw Asians in Black people face, these Asians, you mean the tech bro, 120 a year Indians? You mean them? You mean the ones with the caste system? You mean the ones that's coming from the country where when the woman turns the guy down, he throws acid in her face? You mean them? That's who you comparing Black people to? You mean them? You mean the people that the majority of the country is still poor? That's who you comparing Black people to. Now, respectability isn't exactly working for them because, once again, 1.3, 1.4 billion people and their majority still poor. And they send their elites to America and Europe to get educated. That's who you comparing Black people to? Right? So listening to reading some of the comments in the comment section of the live stream, listening to May speak, it was clear. Black people have lost their goddamn mind. They're no longer in reality. A bunch of people who are speaking about how they feel something should be. Right? Have lost their mind. And so we find ourselves here where the reality of the majority of Black people's lives doesn't matter to Black people who think of themselves, who imagine themselves as upwardly mobile and more respectable and doing the thing the right way. And so to hell with all you others on the bottom. What's different between you and white racist people? The fact that you get to your racism, your anti-Blackness through respectability? Is that the difference? What makes you any different? Is it because you get to your anti-Blackness through, well, we're here because we're doing this wrong and we ain't doing that right? and we need to pool our resources. You mean 40 plus million black people spread around the country in different states need to pull their resources and what? Buy a couple of states? Are you even listening to how you sound? And this is not about Mr. Z being defeatist. There are things black people can do. You notice when everybody got quiet to give May some time, that's when she starts mitigating and giving you the preface. So let me preface my statement by saying, she didn't say that part, but still, let me preface my statement by saying 5 minutes of preface, excuse me. I have so many answers, but I'll just get 5. Yawn. You don't got the answers. You don't got the answers, Sway. You don't got the answers. And that's okay because none of us really have the answers like that. As a group, we have the answers. But one person there, one person here, with our weird ass biases, no, we don't have the answers. Right? So what you have, in many respects, is a whole bunch of maybe solidly middle class black people, maybe a couple who might be upper middle class, just a handful, swearing by a system that's eating most of their people alive. Right? Swearing by a system that's eating most of their people alive. And what we see here also is black people are breaking psychologically. One of the reasons being because of the current financial environment. Right? The current financial environment got back, and then the fact that people are going through normal human experiences, and that's the straw that broke the camel back. Once again, the heavyset black women on the expressway shooting at people, then the other heavyset black woman in the grocery store knocking things down, smearing food and whatnot on herself. For those of you who haven't seen those videos, they're real. These are black women that's breaking psychologically. They're gone. And it is a cry for help. And you will see more of that. You will hear more divester talk and swirler talk. You'll see more black people doing all type of insanity. Like I said, walking into the grocery store, not even trying to steal food, but smearing food on themselves. Pretty much taking a shower with icing. Right? Gone. Young women or middle-aged women having a breakup with their boyfriend and then driving their car at 90 miles an hour through traffic and killing a family or killing some young people. Right? Other women breaking up with their boyfriend or going through it with their boyfriend. Maybe he cheated, maybe he didn't. And then pretending like they've been kidnapped. All of these are cries for help. All of these, and by the way, you're supposed to be a nurse. Right? You come from the group of women that tell us they don't need us. You read through the comments for Succus Ray video covering that, and there's a whole bunch of women saying, you see what he did to her? You should never let a man put you there psychologically. She was already gone psychologically. Right? Once again, addressing the Asian comment. What the Asians are doing different and better than black people is being not black. That's what the Asians are doing better and different than black people. Be not black. Oops. You know what else? What does it matter if Asian men earn more than every other group in America, and yet their women, Asian women, American-born Asian women, excuse me, are marrying outside of their race at 54%. What's the point? See, that's the part that no one ever likes to bring up. Uh-oh. What's the point if they're kicking ass and yet random white dudes could just snatch up all the Asian girls? Uh-oh. See, y'all don't want to speak about that white worship thing that's coming mainly from women, right? And no placeholder. Thank you for the super sticker. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? Thank you for the super sticker, brother. Y'all don't want to talk about that part, right? And it's real and it matters, right? As I said before, black people are speaking like white folks, like they're temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Guppies thinking they're sharks. Whenever they start talking about the market and starting a business and starting LLC, like I said, entrepreneurship is at a 40-year low. Y'all should have never let me find that out. Oh, when I found that out years ago, it was like, oh, it's on. It is not to say that black people don't start businesses. Black people, according to Dr. Jared Ball, have started 2 million businesses, right? 2 million businesses over the past 20 years, from I think it was 92 to 2012. 2 million businesses. Where are they now? Entrepreneurship was at a 40-year low. We advocated for the elites to pretty much take up everything. And then you wonder how we ended up where we are, and y'all don't got the answers. Of course you don't. Right? Because let's be very clear. We got a whole lot of black people that's really not about justice. Ooh, crap, I wasn't supposed to say that. Everything they are is built off of a justice claim, but there's a whole lot of black people that's not really about justice. Your biggest gripe is that you're not one of these rich white elites and you don't get to exploit everyone else. God damn. You said that, Mr. Z? Yeah, Mr. Z said that. There's some of y'all, that's really what your gripe is. Your gripe isn't the exploitation. Your gripe is in you're not the one, and black people aren't the ones exploiting others. Right? And we let you talk long enough, and you pretty much get to that point right there. That truly the real injustice in America is just a racial one. It's not economic, it's not political, it's not social, it's just really a racial one. And Mr. Z puts the racial one above everything else, but I will never say it's just a racial one. That's not true. Right? Now, let me speak about this integration thing because, God, this is just a circular argument. Over and over again, we have this conversation. Dear black people, you had no choice. You had no choice, right? You had no choice. This idea that after World War II, after we watched what the Germans did to the Jews, that America was going to be like, yeah, back to the same exact segregation we had pre World War II. Yeah, no. Right? And the Jews in Germany, for the most part, were white Jews. And you see what happened to them. You were going to have a distinct group of people like black people post World War II move exactly the same. And here's the difference. The European powers were able to stop the Germans. Who was going to be able to stop America if America decided to start stepping on black people the way Germans did Jews? Who? Who was going to invade the US? Uh-oh. First, why would they? Secondly, even if they wanted to, who had the power? Especially after America dropped 2 damn atomic bombs on Japan. Who was going to do it? The Soviets? Yeah, that's it. By the way, it took them another how many years to develop their hydrogen bomb? Who was going to do it? Y'all just be talking. I promise y'all. And that's black people's pride and ego. We should have never integrated. The problem is that we integrated. Yeah, no, that's not the problem. One of the problems, but it's not the problem. And you didn't really have a choice in the matter anyway. And what often goes unsaid is that one of the issues is that you allowed your elite class to turn this into a social argument and not an economic argument. That was one of the problems. That's the major problem. They stopped making a economic argument and a political argument. And much of this is because of the left getting their neck broken with the start of neoliberalism. So elite black folks, the educated class of black folks, all they had for your normal black people were respectability politics and trying to win the culture war. Well, they won the culture war, and that got black people what now? Right. A couple of millionaires from hip hop music. A couple of millionaires from basketball and football. So entertainers. One or two talking heads like Oprah. One president who's not ADOS, one vice president who's not ADOS. That's what it got us. And that culture war that the left won over the past 40, 50 years, the right is like, yeah, we give me that back. Right? So you can't even hide in academia anymore. By the way, if y'all don't know, the right wants to go after their tenure. The right wants to go after these academics' tenure in these universities. Huh. So even the culture war that the left won over the past 40 some odd years, 50 years, the right is slowly chipping away at it. So you can't even hide in culture anymore because you were too cowardly to go after the money or too afraid. Rightfully so. Not saying that you shouldn't have been afraid. It cost Martin Luther King his life. Not saying you shouldn't be afraid. But then you get what you get. You wall off yourself with culture, and now the right is chipping away at the culture. Now what? They won't even put it to vote in the legislature. They just straight Supreme Court, Supreme Court, Supreme Court. We got the Supreme Court. All right, that's where we going. A handful of judges are going to decide. Right? That's a good question, Trell. And Trell says, did they win the war or just a series of battles? Good point. Touche, sir. Right? Good point. Right? And it's a little disheartening to see how many black people want to be authoritarians. Low key want to be authoritarians. Let's give the definition of authoritarian also. Well, authoritarian capitalism and a liberal capitalism. That's what we're going to give the definition for. Is an economic system in which a capitalist market economy exists alongside an authoritarian government related to and overlapping with state. Capitalism, a system in which the state undertakes commercial activity. Authoritarian capitalism combines private property and the functioning of the market forces with repression of dissent. Repression of dissent. Let's say that again. Repression of dissent. Restrictions on freedom of speech, and either a lack of elections or the electoral system in which a single dominant political of a single dominant political party. Really? That's you listen to some black people talk, they start sounding like that. Shout out to you, Hope Ted brothers. Oops, goddamn. Oops. And some of you Hebrew Israelites, goddamn, oops. Which y'all thought Mr. Z and have conversations with you people in real life? Some of our brothers and sisters, y'all talk to them long enough, and you realize their biggest gripe with other black people is that other black people aren't white people. Goddamn. Right? You also realize how many black people don't understand how much of their life was built off of the largesse of the US government and of the social structures and the social safety net that government has provided. By the way, that's not Mr. Z swearing by this racist ass government. I'm saying that at least on paper, you could hold them accountable for something. They are there to do for you. Once again, the government is actually there to do for you. You know what they do? They direct the money and the resources. That's what they do. And yet you have a whole lot of black people talking like you Jeff Bezos. See, now if black people were Jeff Bezos, a bunch of us, 40 million of us, I don't know how to math, but okay. Right? Or at least, okay, fine. If 40 million of us were Oprah level wealthy, then we would have an argument about, okay, yeah, it's all character flaw. It's all character flaw. It's all because black people don't know how to manage their money. Look, black people were once a bunch of billionaires, and 50 years later, 20 years later, a century later, they don't have anything because they just went out and bought Audis and Benzes and Jordans and weave and right. That would be an argument. But is that where black people are currently? Right? If you don't fully understand what black people are built off of, what America is built off of, if you don't understand what makes white people white, not just the skin tone, then you won't understand. And yeah, I'm gonna burst some bubbles with this one. You won't understand why having a crap ton of black people that earn 70 and 80 million dollars, excuse me, wrong, 70 and $80,000 a year is way more important than one black billionaire. You won't understand why, if you have 40 million people in a country of 330 some odd million people, and a good half of those people, maybe a good 60% of those people, yearly income hovers around 70 and $80,000 a year, is way more important than having, let's say, 10 of those people and 15 of those people be billionaires. You don't understand why. Because you think about the shine. You think about the entire community being supported by these 10 people that are billionaires and what they decide. $10, $15, all right, 20. All right, let's say black people had 1 billionaire for every 10 million. Fine. Black people have 40 billionaires. You think 40 black billionaires is more important than 20 some odd million black people earning $80,000 a year? 75, 70, 80, $85,000 a year? And I'm purposely not putting them at the six-figure mark. Close enough, but far from 40,000, but close enough to 100. Right? But if you don't understand what makes white people white, they're middle class, and the government propping up and bolstering and maintaining that middle class. If you don't understand that, then of course you would go for the all right. And Trail is right. Trail said 40 billionaires out of 40 million. That's not good enough. That's piss poor ratio. Fine, let's do 80. Right? Let's do 160. 160 black billionaires. You still think you're saying something? And by the way, let's be very clear. They're black in America, so they'll still be worth 1 billion, 1.2 billion, maybe 3 billion. One or two of them will be worth 5 billion. And you think that's more important than a community full of black people that earn 70, 75, 80, $85,000 a year? Right? Now, when Green Gorilla spoke to Dr. Thunder, that was those questions were a perfect example of why having a moral compass is important. Right? Why having things that are built off of moral justice is important. Because how many women, let's rewind, how many men, let alone how many women, could do something about Dr. Thunder, if he walked into your house and just sat at your kitchen table and say, somebody here cook me something. And you can't get to your gun fast enough. Who could do something about Dr. Thunder? Over 6 feet, could lift 420 pounds. Most of the black men in the black manosphere can't do nothing about Dr. Thunder, let alone any one of the women. None of them could do nothing. Now what? But because Dr. Thunder has a set of ideas, morality that keep him from living that type of life, a moral code. All this might makes right talk that the black community buys into, when most of what the black community is built off of, and as a matter of fact, most of what society is built off of right now, yes, the threat of violence is always looming in the background. Absolutely. And that's why people protest. And that's why, shout out to Dr. Green Gorilla, that's why people shame, blame, and explain. That was Martin Luther King's entire project. We can't go gun for gun with white folks. We don't got the numbers. We don't have the ammunition. We don't have the training. So we will shame the hell out of them post World War II. By the way, that's exactly what America's trying to fight back against. That's why you have all of this propaganda about black people aren't doing that bad. Look, we got Jay-Z and Oprah. Black people aren't doing like that bad. Look, we got this black president, this black vice president. That's what that's really about. Look, we got all these black entertainers. If you put all the notable black entertainers, and I mean all of them, the singers, the rappers, the football players, the basketball players, if you put all of them in a room right now, do you even have 15,000 people? If you put every single notable black entertainer that's still alive in a room right now, do you even have a stadium full of people? Remember, 40 million plus black people. I hear 38. So let's say anywhere between like 38 and 42, 45 million black people. Do you even have 20,000 notable black people? If you could think of all your entertainers, your football players, your basketball players, all the retired ones, all the actors, all the actresses, all the singers, all the rappers, the talking heads, the news anchors, All of the ones that anybody think got a little bit of money and some status, some fame, right? And y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. So now you understand why these people plaster, this society plasters black people's faces everywhere. Look, we're not racist. Look, they act like the Chinese don't have their young people coming to America to go to university, to go to college. Like they don't really know. Oh, wait a minute. Y'all was saying, see, when I was in China, I thought that black people were well integrated into the society and y'all had them doing great things. Now that I'm actually here, I realize y'all got them as the bottom caste. When I was in India, I thought that black people were all in the mix. Now I realize when I turn on your local news, I quickly realize who the bottom caste of people is. Right? That's why a Chinese dignitary could throw in America's face and Joe Biden's administration face BLM. Yes, we know about BLM. I'm just saying. Oh, you telling us about our Uyghurs in China, in Western China? What about how you treating black people? Oops. Right? This is also how you get the New Zealand shooter mentioning Candace Owens. He's literally halfway around the world. Literally halfway around the world. And in his manifesto is Candace Owens' name. Why? Because the conservatives have caught on to the fact that, wait a minute, 90 some odd percent of black women keep on voting Democrat. How are we supposed to show that we're not anti-woman and anti-black? Right? That's the whole point. Just plaster a handful of black people's face. And that doesn't mean that our black entertainers aren't truly talented, but their talent is being weaponized against the entire black community. Especially when these people fashion themselves as being apolitical, amoral. So you got apolitical, amoral black entertainers whose entire life is built off of black politics. God damn. What? The political and social fight of black people from the day they put their big toe on them slave ships till now, and yet you have a whole lot of black entertainers who are apolitical. How in the hell? Because they're afraid they're going to lose a couple of dollars. Meanwhile, what's that rock group or that country group, the three white women? They put it all on the line to say, yeah, George Bush, nope, ain't vote for him. He's from Texas. We're from Texas. We ain't doing it. Y'all know the three women. Their name is right there. And they recently had a resurgence, and Beyonce did a show with them. Not a show, but like a little performance with them. What is their name? Not the. Oh, I forgot their name. Somebody could say it. Anyway, they destroyed their career just to give George W. Bush the middle finger, and yet you have a bunch of black entertainers that don't stand for much of nothing. The Dixie Chicks, thank you. The Dixie Chicks, yes, thank you, Trell and Naaman. So y'all getting outshined by white women, black entertainers. Wait a minute, maybe y'all forgot about like the invasion of Iraq. For the Dixie Chicks to stand up to George W. Bush in 03, 04 and torpedo their own career, and then stand on it. This is before like social media was on the level it is now, where you could still have your fan base riding with you, and you just, you know what, I'm gonna just go around the establishment and use social media to find my people, and I'll do little shows here and there. This is before that. And these people torpedoed their own career. So in other words, a whole bunch of street dudes are telling me that three white women are more G than they are. Well, damn. Yeah, but they won't kill them. You're right. You're right. No, you're actually right. You're right. But this is a lot, right? Shout out to Dr. Thunder once again for backing up Gigi about why SBE is important, and how a bunch of these things can be considered SBE, right? How a bunch of things in our society could be shame, blame, and explain. You could consider them shame, blame, and explain, right? Mackie Samuels, I don't know if you want to have that conversation, Mackie Samuels. I know I'm Haitian. I don't know if you want to have that conversation, because I'm going to tell you about how the US government keeps on putting its thumb on the scales for corrupt leaders in Haiti. So it would come right back to certain ADOS people doing, what they did back in the 80s, and telling the US government to step off so that the Haitians could decide their fate and their future. Mackie Samuels, you really want to have that conversation? And Mackie Samuel says, K Dot, it seems like Haiti has been in consistent crisis over the last 40 years, but Haitian immigrants have not made the decision to help improve their home country. You mean while the Clintons are screwing Haiti over? You mean that? You mean while we still don't really know if there was American money that had anything to do with the assassination of the previous leader? You mean that? Uh-oh. You mean that? You mean that the fact that Haiti is one of the most in countries that is Haiti and Dominican Republic that has had the most interventions of countries in the Americas by the U.S. government? You mean that? Yes, even more than Cuba. Yes, even more than Cuba. Are you sure you want to have that conversation, Mr. Mackey? It would be easy to control the internal politics in Haiti if we didn't always have the U.S. multi-trillion-dollar economy always stepping in the way. If the country with the GDP, that's what, 22, 23 trillion dollars, didn't keep on stepping in the way, it would be a whole lot easier to get our affairs in order. Right? Now, Panama is just a big. Trail said, even more than Panama, yeah, but what they did to Panama, they Panama started off with the U.S. being like, we need to find a way to get from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean. Ooh, look, there's some rebels over here in Colombia doing this thing. All right, here. All right, now that you got your independence, we gonna need to confiscate this area of the country, right? Some U.S. politician way back in the day, when Panama was fighting for to control the Panama Canal, said we stole it fair and square. I can't remember what the name of the politician is, but literally came out their mouth and said we stole it fair and square. Right? And what did K Dot say? Give me a second, K Dot. What did you say? Which one was it? Black feminism is white supremacy. That's true. Uh oh. Well, we could see that with when these black feminists decide to partner up with a man, we could see who they partner up with. White man, right? Also, let me say this just in case there's a whole lot of brothers and sisters talk like this is avoidable. It's not. Let's go through it. You can't avoid white bureaucracy and white administration. And no society or community of scale exists without a bureaucracy. Does black people do for self in a vacuum to find some type of workaround around white bureaucracy and white administration is it's a no-go. It's just not going to work. And we've been trying it and it's not working because it's not going to work. Black people in America are not an island amongst themselves. No one in America is an island amongst themselves. The closest you get is maybe the Native Americans and maybe the Amish. Certain American tribes and maybe the Amish. That's the closest you get. And they're still not an island amongst themselves. And when you hear people like May speak, they speak like I keep on bringing it up. Chris Hayes wrote a whole damn book based off of this quote. Black people will not be allowed to be a colony within a nation. It's just not a thing. And you're hearing black people try to find some weird workaround to avoid dealing with white bureaucracy, white bureaucrats, and white administrators. It's just not a thing. It's not a. That's why you have Martin Luther King meeting with JFK because you cannot avoid white bureaucrats and white administrators. You just can't. If we gave a gun to every single black person, the damn toddler, all the way to the elderly who could barely lift a gun, if we gave a gun to every single one of them and did no talk to not a single not a single white or even non-black politician, you still would end up in a worse position. Eric Denman said yes. Excuse me. Eric Denman asked, wasn't it Nixon that said that? Yes, it was Nixon. Tricky Dick himself. Right? So the way many black people are speaking is just not it's not a thing. You can't avoid white bureaucrats. You can't avoid white administrators. Right? Administration, the process or activity of running a business or organization. Government, organizing. Right? So that's just something that we have to be honest about, people. It's a whole lot of black people who sound a little off, they sound a little insane. And as I said to y'all a couple of months ago, as this crunch down potentially happens, as we go deeper and deeper into austerity. I don't know why I say authoritarianism. Maybe, right? Austerity. More and more working class and poor and lower middle class people are going to break, not just black people, but particularly black people, because that's who most of us live around and among, right? And I want us, at least in the black manosphere, to be prepared for that and to be careful, right? And you're going to hear more people sound like me. More women, black women, sound like me. And this is a black woman that's supposedly married, right? And you hear the way she sounds. You're going to hear more black people blame other black people for their current position. Definitely the women. Because as I always say, you imagine being 27, 28, 29, not supremely attractive, but maybe not the ugliest person either. 29-year-old, 28-year-old black woman, standard black woman attitude, so horrible. And you're $60,000-$70,000 in student loan debt. You don't own your own home. You barely can afford your car note, and you barely can afford your car note, your part of the rent for your apartment, and your student loan debt. And we still have the ghost of men needing to be provider protector in the atmosphere, even though you're not doing anything to either attract or keep the protector and provider. As a matter of fact, you have a horrible attitude. And your best bet is with a black man. And you have a horrible attitude concerning black men. You imagine? Right? And Eric Dedman said, what did May say now? Why is she always in these spaces? To disrupt the peace. She was on Dr. Green Gorilla's panel yesterday, right? So that's what I'm speaking about right now. And I'm speaking about some of the brothers in the comments that think they're super capitalists, right? And the reason why, once again, I call it philosopher blues is to think that a bunch of people in the comments and May, and look how loud May got at the end, right? She couldn't hold it anymore. You're trying to loud talk and over talk Dr. Green Gorilla as if you got the answers. Right? And y'all give me 1 second. Y'all give Mr. Z 1 second. Yeah, y'all. Right? We're back. We're back. But yeah, so at the end of the day, May just was here to disrupt the peace, right? And it's understandable if you were taught something. We're neoliberal babies. All of us under the age of like 50. That's what we are. Even Mr. Z, who criticizes it all the time and can't keep the damn term out of my mouth. We all are. Right? And so if you were told and you were given some weird ass Ayn Rand answer and solution to everything, right? And the era of big government is over, answer to everything, and the Margaret Thatcher, there's no such thing as society. There's individuals and families. If that's been like the prevailing ethos over the past creeping up on 50 years, right? Then of course you understand why May sounds the way she does, and why other brothers sound the way they do when it comes to economics, when it comes to politics. And I've said it before, I'm happy Green Gorilla said it also. Economics is a social science. Thank you, Dr. Green Gorilla. Thank you. Right? A lot of people see the numbers and they think it's like a hard science, like physics or something. No, economics is a social science. It's up for interpretation. Right. Thank you, Namer. Those words by the Iron Lady and old Ronnie were empty words. For those of you that don't know, Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, right? Dianne Feinstein thought she was going to be Margaret Thatcher 2.0. Retire, old ass lady. Retire. God damn. Looking like goddamn Skeletor. She still won't retire. Right? So, look, I am not about attempting to dictate to brothers to have y'all think like me, right? I am a lefty. I own it. I let everyone know. But for those of y'all who you think, well, you see black people's current economic and social position, and you think, like, I'm not saying the left has the answers, but if you think the right got the answers, you got another thing coming. I understand the black men that want to spike the systems because the Democrats and the left do so much pandering. They drop a couple of crumbs, but they do way more pandering than dropping crumbs for the sisters on the left. I agree. And the left is just a hodgepodge of weirdos with purple hair and rainbow hair looking like 6ix9ine. I agree. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I'm gonna steal one of Charles' quotes about being red pill for black women and then blue pill for non-black women. Don't y'all be red pill for the left and then blue pill for the right. Because white supremacy on the right is well structured, while white supremacy on the left looks disorganized and wayward. Right? And you think you're gonna negotiate with these people? Yeah, okay. You know what? We'll stay out of your hair, right? This is a somewhat of a Booker T argument, and I'm not gonna go in on Booker T. That'll divide the whole entire room. I'm not going in. I am saying this is a Booker T argument, which is like, hey, we'll stay out of your hair. We won't necessarily engage in the political process. Just let us do our thing on the side, right? Just let us do our thing on the side, and we'll stay out of your way. We won't talk about race. We won't talk about injustice. We'll keep our head down. Just let us do our thing over here. And like I think Nixon in the 1970s gave us the answer. This is why I keep on saying Nixon told you, yeah, you're not gonna be a colony within the nation. So it took about a century, but Nixon gave the answer to Booker T, which is like, yeah, no. And you can argue even before Nixon. Eisenhower gave the answer, yeah, no. Right? JFK and Johnson gave the answer, yeah, no. Right? So that's my little lefty kind of. And I would argue most of the brothers, shout out to Big Kev, he said that most of the brothers in the Black Manosphere are somewhere in the middle, which is, a wide cross section of brothers from like the middle left to the middle right. 100% accurate. 100% accurate. But we trend a little bit more right leaning. I understand, and I understand why. I'm not even challenging that. I am saying, once again, don't be blue pill for the right. Letting a whole lot of anti-blackness sneak in through the. You ever hear you hear like y'all can hear when they're suggesting certain anti-black stuff, and then you hear certain black people like, yeah, we need that, and I'm like, oh, nigga, do you understand what he really saying, right? Do you really understand what he's saying? Like, you know, certain black people be letting the dog whistles get way too loud. White dudes, white people be dog whistling, and y'all be like, I don't hear anything. What are you talking about, Z? I'm like, you don't hear that? You hear that, right? And Big Kev says, and thank you for the super chat. Booker T aimed to build an economic power base, and he did. And low key, he was donating money all to all type of organizations, black organizations you thought he was against, right? Low key, because he knew what he had to say. The difference between Booker T and a lot of these other brothers is y'all actually mean it. When Booker T died, they found out wait a minute, money was coming. Wait, isn't that an organization he was just talking crap about yesterday? He knew what he had to do to get money for the school. He knew what the racists in the South needed to hear. And what the racists in the Northeast needed to hear. He knew. But when you talk to some of the brothers and sisters now, y'all really mean it though. Booker T had a bigger vision. It wasn't about his ego. It wasn't about black people's collective ego. Y'all really mean it though. that's the frightening part. And shout out to you, Big Kev, exactly. Y'all really think Jews got their like money sequestered off. When y'all talking about like, well, look how they move, and I'm like, you don't really understand what's going on now, do you? Maybe I need to post up that article of gentrification of Chinatown. Where is it in Philly and in different places across the country? The same Asians y'all swear by getting their neighborhoods gentrified. Now what? Right? Y'all keep on swearing by these people, but they're being gentrified. Now what? And that's not all the Chinatowns, Mr. Z's not saying that. Big Kev, that's all I'm saying. And thank you for the super chat again. Big Kev says Tradcons destroyed the family as much as the far left. And that's all. And y'all notice Mr. Z claims the left, but I never cover for the BS. Or even try to explain the BS. Because the reason why I claim left leaning politics is for the social safety net, right? Because I understand how much of what we are is built off of social programs, and much of what white people are is built off of social programs. The fact that South Asians could come to this country, particularly Indians, with these H-1B visas and all this other stuff is based off of some type of contract with the U.S. government. Yes, the corporations have something to do with that, the big tech companies and whatnot, et cetera, et cetera. Right? And because I understand the banks may be in New York, but where the money is directed is in DC. The power is in DC. The power is not in New York. The power is in DC. And you would think black people know that, but if you talk to enough black people, you realize they don't know that, and it gets real scary. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Right? Let's say that again. The power is in DC. It is not in New York. And that's hard for a lot of black people to like accept, especially, because we're all neoliberal babies. Well, at least those of us under the age of like 50. Right? And because of that, we sound the way we do. If I could find this quote, that would be absolutely. Give me a second. There we go. Let's read this. Choosing money over power is a mistake almost everyone makes. Money is the big mansion in Saratoga that starts falling apart after 10 years. Power is that old stone building that stands for centuries. I cannot respect someone who does not see the difference. Right? And Lithium says anyone born after 81, according to BGS, is started in Carter. Yeah, no, neoliberalism started under Carter. It did start under Carter. It did. It started crawling out the slime under Carter, and it came full force under Reagan, and then it got solidified with Clinton. Clinton was the last person that if it was going to be curtailed, it would have been curtailed with him, and he just doubled and tripled that. This is how you get the third way, which is just conservative light. It's not full on red, it's pink. It's a lighter shade of red. Right? And my argument is whether you're politically left or politically right, you gotta get rid of neoliberalism. You gotta get rid of this idea that the market will solve everything, especially in a country with 330 something million people. Right? And like having a handful of people have the preponderance of the say, and us essentially assigning people like some type of like, you're a gold man, you're a platinum man, you're a bronze man, right? You're a silver man. And we're only really listening to the platinum men, maybe a handful of gold men. All the rest of you, like, just put your head down, do your work, and try to get up here. Get your bank up, right? Get your weight up, right? Well, and Namath says, wouldn't that make the Clintons conservative liberals, which is the opposite of liberal conservatives? Well, I keep on saying that in many respects, for Western countries, America is so far right that the Democrats in a European, okay, the Democrats in Norway would be a right leaning party, and the Republicans would be off the table. They'll be practically neo Nazis. They are practically neo Nazis, right? You put the Democratic Party in Norway, in Finland, in Denmark, in France, right? What did Marie Le Pen say any different than what Hillary Clinton was saying back in the 90s? God damn, Mr. Z. I wasn't supposed to say that, right? You got this supposed Democrat woman whose husband is president talking about bringing black children to heal. She did not say black, but you know what she meant. Not John Stossel. And Big Kev said even John Stossel admitted that we need some rules, bruh. Even Tucker Carlson. Every once in a while, even the people on the right are like, okay, this looks like what's the name of the white woman that used to be on Fox and then now she's on is it ABC or CBS or whatever, one of those? Was it her? One time she was speaking about when the 400 richest Americans had the same wealth as like the bottom 50% of Americans, and she was having a conversation with somebody on Fox News, and she was even like, bro, I think it was her. It was one of those. all those blondes look the same. I'm sorry. It was one of the blondes on Fox News, and of course, she's speaking to the money men on Fox, or the wannabe money men. They're money men, and they were like, "Yeah, this is a great thing. This is good motivation and good inspiration." And then, wait a minute, and even she was like, "Wait a minute, it's a good thing that we got 400 people that have the same." Megan Kelly, thank you, Trell. Right? Wait a minute, it's a good thing that our bottom, that 400 people have the same wealth as the bottom half. So yeah, every once in a while, even on the political right, they'll be like, okay, maybe we went too far. Right? We don't want to admit it in front of the left, but maybe this economic structure is crap. Maybe. They'll say it for all of 2 seconds and then they'll get, back to business as usual. But every once in a while, even they got to be like, okay, this is crazy. This is not sustainable. And I would argue that's why some of the tech bros offer universal basic income, or even them, they're like, hey, bro, we got to figure this out before automation hit for real, because all it's going to do is solidify this current wealth structure, right? And to me, that's some of the most frightening thing, is like listening to rich folks, even though they're doing it for their own selfish reasons, sound like they have more. Oh, I don't want to say that. Sound like they don't really care about justice. Can't say that. How am I wording this? Okay, you know what? Sound like they have some more foresight than working class black people. You know how frightening it is to hear Mark Zuckerberg talk about universal basic income and hear working class black people laugh it off. You know how frightening that is, right? You know how frightening that is to have black people whose entire existence over the past, you know, let's say 70 years is a social and political project to claw back some type of humanity from black people crumb by crumb. And to hear other black people say, yeah, no, all we need is unlimited access to the private sector and we'll be good to go. We can do it ourselves. When no other group of Americans does it themselves. None. Like none. So on that note, we'll truly pause right there. Shout out to Dr. Green Gorilla, BGS, Dr. Thunder, everyone else that was on the panel. Shout out to Keep It 100, all the people that was trying to talk to some sense into May, some sense into some of the brothers in the chat, right? I still maintain that the conservative brothers are lowercase c conservative, and really what y'all are advocating for is traditionalism, not really political conservatism. Because if you really saw what that looked like, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want it. And guess what? Even what traditionalism in America, which you're really talking about, is like that 1950s Stepford wives, leave it to beaver lifestyle. That was even built off of America, upward mobility, the Homestead Act, the GI Bill. So even that was built off of dun 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 socialist policies. Well, damn, Z. Right? Even that was built off of socialist policies. So even what you're advocating for would mean that the US government gets more involved about regulating home prices, right? Keeping these car dealerships from price gouging, right? Opening up some of these areas where the HOAs are saying, or the homeowners are saying, yeah, we don't want affordable home houses over here. That would mean all of that. That would mean maybe universal health care, right? That would mean a public's work program where we say, okay, if you have a college degree, you're going to get hired by the US government as a last resort if you can't find another job. And if you have a high school diploma, we can even put you to work. But too many black people feel like, no, nope, nope, we don't need it. All right then. Right? Trail said, keep your socialism away from my social security. Was it I think it was the election of Barack versus John McCain, where I can't, was I watching Fox News, and like even they had to clip away from it where the lady was like, or was it a man or a lady? One of these older white folks, one of the old white women or old white man that was like, yeah, she literally said something like what Trell just said. It was a I'm saying her, but it could have been a dude. But I remember watching and like literally the person said something like what Trell just said, keep your socialism away from my social security. And I was like, bruh. And I was like, what? Was I even? I was like, what, 21, 22 at the time? Right? Something like that. And even at that age, I was like, what? Right? Naaman said, or was it Mitt Romney? It could have been the Barack versus Mitt Romney election. It could have been that one too. The 2012 election. It could have been that one. But I want to say it was the '08 election. It could have been the 2012 election. And I just remember like it's funny because Trell says it, and like it's funny, but it's not funny because there's really people that don't realize like Social Security is like government largesse. That's the government saying, hey, we don't want to see old people in the middle of the street starving to death because they didn't earn enough while they were working in their working years. So we're gonna take a couple of dollars from them and then give them even more dollars in their old age. Right? Once again, that's a social program. Really, education isn't enshrined in the Constitution. Your public education is a social program. God damn. Now we know about the Prussian school model and the fact that a lot of this is really about indoctrination. Yes, 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 of course. Mr. Z is not even, pretending like that's not a thing. But once again, how many of us would be where we are, especially black people, if there was no public education? Right? So on that note, look, I should have been left out. And 7N, R34s are not my favorite Skyline GTR. It's really the R33. And if I had to buy an R34, first of all, I can't afford it. Secondly, even if I could, I'm not spending no more than like $75,000 on any car, like ever, ever, never. Maybe an R33 if I won the lottery, but yeah, nah, bro. Yeah, I don't ever see me spending no 150, 200, 250 on no goddamn, and I'm a fucking car head, right? But nah, nope, can't do it. Nah, right? And on that note, we'll end out right here, right? We'll pause right here. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. And this was just my response to the conversation. Shout out to Dr. Grigorilla, like I said earlier, BGS, Dr. Thunder for going on, and all the rest of the people that were on the panel. Keep it 100. Everyone that was trying to, put some sense into May's head, but she wasn't trying to hear it. Like I said, she was just there to disrupt the peace. And the fact that she tried to loud talk and over talk Dr. Green Gorilla. Like, bro, y'all don't respect people's academic accomplishments now, do y'all? Right? Y'all really don't. Right. And on that note, I'll put it in my comments, 7N, but I gotta end out. So let's do our outro. Love, peace, and chicken grease. We'll pause right here. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content, for the love of God. And yeah, we'll end it out right here. All right, everyone.